Hi, this is Adam Eliel Berkowitz from Israel 365 News. I'm here with my dear friend Josh Wander. I hope he thinks that I'm a dear friend also. He's on the Mount of Olives, and on Friday, just before Shabbos, he was attacked by a group of Arabs, which is happening all across Israel. And I think it's very, very important for people outside of Israel to understand exactly what that's like because it's very common. So Josh, tell us what happened.
Thanks, Elio. Yes, you are a friend. So Friday, I was on my way back home right before the Sabbath entered, about an hour before Shabbat. And I came through a way that I travel all the time through the city of David, coming up the road. I saw that there were some cars turning around, not so unusual.
If I may, I just want to point out that you're talking about an area that's maybe 150 yards from the entrance to the Western Wall.
Temple Mount.
Yeah, the Temple Mount and the Western Wall, and that whole area, which is, you would think it's a place where Jews and Christians and anyone who wants to go to the Western Wall would be permitted to go without unimpeded.
No, not only that, the city of David is a national tourist attraction run by the government, and there are tens of thousands, if not more, tourists that go there every year. So it's a very popular spot, very normative, popular spot for tourists to go visit. And so on my way home, I'm driving up the road. It's a very steep hill going up, and as I get to the, I would say about a third of the way up, I all of a sudden notice that there are a lot of masked is not the words. How do you say roulé panim? You have Arabs that have their faces covered, and I noticed that there is a big garbage container that is blocking the road in front of me. This is a standard practice for terrorists to use to slow down traffic or stops traffic so that they're able to ambush the cars, the Jewish cars that are coming through. There was a little bit of room on the sides of the container, and I succeeded in driving around it. But as soon as one of the Arabs noticed that I got around their blockade, they immediately drove. They were in like a pickup truck, I think, if I remember correctly. They drove right into the front of my car in order to stop me. Of course, that succeeded in stopping me very quickly. Smashed the entire front of my car. And as soon as my car stopped, about 30 Arabs surrounded the car and started throwing large rocks at the car from all directions. If my car was not an armored car, which it is, I would not be here today speaking to you, Elio.
And you also carry a gun. You served in the army. You're well trained. You're also in Zaka, and you're a guy who's used to being in emergency situations. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, I'm usually on the other side of it. I'm not usually in the middle of it. Whether it be my role as a journalist or whether it be my role as a first responder, I'm usually the one responding, not the one being responded to. But in this case, I definitely was the target of terrorism. What makes it worse is the fact that the police response to it was completely disproportional, I'm going to say, to what happened. I went to the police station. Excuse me. I didn't make it before Shabbat. I went immediately last night, immediately after Shabbat. And they very nonchalantly took my complaint. And within a couple of hours this morning, I woke up to a message from the police that they've decided to close the file because it was not, I guess, attempted murder is not something that interests the country or the police. So therefore, they're just going to close the file. And I'm sure that they didn't even bother looking at the CCTV footage or anything to see actually what happened. But I'm sure that's due to what is quickly spiraling out of control all over the country. They're getting thousands of these complaints daily, and I'm not sure that they are equipped to deal with it.
I heard an audio recording that someone posted from Lod, which is seeing a lot of these Arab riots. These are cities where Arabs and Jews have never had this before. They've coexisted peacefully. It's 30% Arab, um, and there was an audio recording. The police called a woman back in the morning and said, "You called us last night." And she said, "Yes, I did. They were shooting at us." And they said, "Oh, we see that. Yeah, the police came there. Yeah, yes, they took away the people who got shot, the Jews who got shot. Thank you very much." And
Yeah,
that was
actually,
pretty much.
I was getting calls all Shabbat from the police. It was many hours later, and it was Shabbat, so I wasn't answering the phone. But I was getting calls all through the night from the police that were responding many hours after the event. I sent a message directly to the local commander here, who responded that, Josh, I'm glad you were not injured. And we were very busy at the time with many different things that were going on. All that tells me is that, like I said, that they are not equipped to deal with what is going on now in the country. And I'm hoping that two things happen as a result. One is that the open fire rules that are currently in place change, that allows people
What
to
are
defend themselves.
what are the open fires rules?
Well, that they're the official and the unofficial rules. The official rules are when you have an imminent bodily danger, life in danger, then you're able to respond with lethal force. Those are the official rules. Unofficially, though, people around the country that are lawful, law-abiding citizens that are armed know that even if they succeed, even under the circumstances which officially they should be able to use their firearm, if they do, they will at least have their firearm confiscated for a nice period of time, half a year or whatever. And at most, they may even be imprisoned for using the firearm, even if it was justified. So it's something that people are very hesitant to do. In my case, I was, like I said, in an armored car. So for me to exit the car with my firearm would have been suicide. That didn't make any sense, that the rocks were not penetrating the car. But what I can say is that that I'm hoping that changes, and we are allowed to properly, but not only us, not only civilians, but also the police. I think many times their hands are tied. There were actually police on the scene when this was happening to me, and I'm not even sure they noticed what
Really?
was happening because they were too busy dealing with themselves. They were trying to save their own lives. They were being stoned at the same time as I was. And so they couldn't deal with what was going on around them. And again, they're not permitted to use lethal force, even though rocks are definitely endanger one's life. Definitely when you're driving a car and it's thrown at the car. But that having been said, they're whenever lethal force is used in such cases, like I said, at minimum, the firearm is confiscated, and in worst case scenario, the person is imprisoned. What I can say is the other thing that needs to be done is, I think that and I think this is soon going to happen. This is just my prediction. That they're going to have to bring in the IDF, because the IDF has a lot more resources than the national police have. And I see that, at least from my vantage point today, that the national police are not equipped to deal with what is going on around the country, and that the army will have to come in and start to restore order.
There was a case last week in Lod where a Jew shot and killed an Arab, and to all accounts, it was self-defense, and he's in jail right now. So so your assessment, I think, is accurate. Do you think? Also, I'm sorry. First, did you consider ramming the people who were surrounding you? Was that an option?
First of all, I did drive towards the rioters, not in order to try to ram them, but in order to escape the scene. I used some evasive driving. at least 3 of them jumped out of the way of my car as I was driving. I mean, I would have run right over them because I don't think that I think my life comes first before the terrorists.
Justifiably.
Crazy thought that I had, but
Justifiably, they come out to kill you. Kill them first. That's the way it should be.
So I definitely was aim again. I wasn't the goal was not to run over them. The goal was to as quickly as possible exit the scene. And I don't believe I hit anybody. I think that they jumped out of the way right before I did so. But if that happens, I would recommend that anybody that's in a similar situation do whatever is necessary in order to protect and defend their own lives.
Do you think when you say that the police are not coping with the situation, which they're clearly not, and I also want to add, this is an unprecedented situation we've never had in Israel. This is not like intifadas where you had individual Arabs attacking individual Jews. This is mobs roaming the streets, uninhibited, nothing stopping them. Do you think that the police's lack of effective response is a matter of decision or a matter of ability?
I have no question that it's a decision. It's a policy decision, perhaps from the top ranks of the police, or perhaps even higher in the government levels. What the 2 things that I mentioned, the change in the open fire rules, and the fact that the police need to have their hands untied, go hand in hand. Excuse the pun. The fact that the police are not able to properly respond to these situations just emboldens the terrorists. The fact that they get away with it, and they see that they're able to do whatever they're able to do, and they can get away with it, just emboldens them and allows them to do more and more and more crazy stuff because they see they can get away with it. The police. We had another incident locally on Jerusalem Day, on Yom Yerushalayim, where about 150 men, women, and children from my community, since we were not able to leave with cars, the police deemed it too dangerous for us to leave our community with cars. We decided we were going to walk to the old city. We're about 10 minutes away from the old city, so we decided we're going to walk in mass to the old city. On the way, we had an escort from the border police. On the way, we were pelted with stones from the top of the Temple Mount.
Top of the temple. They're using their, as it were, which is a lie, holy site as a base of terror to attack Jews.
Correct.
Oh my gosh.
And these stones, we're talking about dropping a couple, even if they were small stones, which they weren't, but even if they were small stones, we're talking about dropping a couple 100 feet, are definitely deadly. At that point, the border police, I don't think even had live rounds to do anything with. They were shooting anti-riot guns that they're given. Basically, it's foam. They're sort of shooting what I call Nerf balls up at the rioters, which don't even reach that far. I'm sure they didn't even hear the noise of those guns going off. So a number of the people in the community had to respond with live fire, which did eventually manage to quell the attack. But again, immediately afterwards, their details were taken down in order by the police because they were considered to be the bad guys, even though they were the victims, because they decided to defend themselves and their families.
I've seen so many videos of Jews sitting there with handguns. And thank God, it seems that most of them had some kind of army training because they knew how to form an attack and how to consolidate their fire. But as I said, people are getting arrested for reacting like that.
And I think it definitely is a policy decision. It's in the hands of the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. It's in the hands of the Minister of Internal Security, Ohana, and the current national commander of the police, Shabtai. These people are the ones that are making these decisions. And like I said, the longer that they take to change the situation, the worse it's going to be. It is definitely spiraling out of control, not only here in Jerusalem, but across the country. And it's just a matter of time before, in my opinion, before the IDF is going to have to be called in and to quell the riots.
So here comes the rough question that if you don't want to answer, I totally understand. Um, there have been very few, but a few cases of Jewish groups, mobs, lynching Arabs. And I want to make it clear. I think it's tragic, but I want to hear your opinion on that, if I can, if you're willing to go out there.
Elio, how long have you known me? I think that
I've known you a while.
I'm not somebody who shies away from giving
No,
my
you're
opinion.
not. But a lot of people are. I saw. Okay, to preface this, I saw a news broadcast where in which it was an Israeli news broadcast in Hebrew, in which the broadcasters were going on and on about this horrible Israeli lynch and everything like that. And one female broadcaster broke down in tears. She said, "You're all focusing on this one lynch, while our entire nation is under rocket fire that's targeting our people, not our soldiers." She said, "You're going on and on about this one lynch. Yes, it was horrible, but let's talk about proportion. Let's talk about proportion." And I kind of I just want to preface that there is a lot of focus on the Jewish actions that are proactive. So, Josh, lay it on me. What's Josh Wander say about that?
100%. I agree with her. This is completely disproportional, and it is a false narrative which is perpetrated in the media, across the media. I think intentionally, in order to portray a equivalency between what they call Jewish extremists and Arab extremists, when everyone knows that 99.99% of the attacks are coming from one side and one side only. The fact that there are they pick on one incident that happened in order to show that there's an equivalency on both sides is completely disproportional to actually what the reality is on the ground. And it's just a way of trying to, it's fake news in order to try to convince the public, which is not aware of what's going on, that there is some sort of proportionality over here. There is no proportionality at all. Like I said, the vast majority of attacks are coming from the Arab side, and there's very, very, very little coming from the Jewish side, if at all. And when it does happen, the police are are very fast to prosecute and arrest Jewish people that are involved in these things. That they are unfortunately not as quick to prosecute and arrest the Arabs that are perpetrating it on the other side.
And of course, you'll never see the Palestinian Authority prosecute or even stop or do anything against their own people who attack Jews. But Israel is very, very good about prosecuting their own people, and that's also a significant difference. My daughter learns, and so much of it you don't hear. That's what crazy. Did your incident make it to the news?
No.
Oh,
In
gosh.
fact,
Okay.
after we complained that my file was closed prematurely, excuse me, we were told that there were so many incidences that day in our area that they decided to unite to bring to what is it called? What was the word? So to bring together lynched, to bring together all of the files into one large file, because the police did not have were not equipped to be able to deal with each file individually. So they're dealing it as one big incident as opposed to many separate incidences. I'm not even sure what that means. I have a lawyer that's looking into it, but it's a very sad state of affairs. Like I said, the most of the media are not reporting accurately, and I think they have their own agenda when they do that. And likewise, what we're hearing from even the official channels of the government, we're not hearing the lack of proportionality between what is going on the Arab offensive and what is happening for the Jews trying to defend their lives and their property.
I think there's a clear message or a theme that's coming out in this wave of violence that has never been so clear before. You live on the Mount of Olives. and they're angry that you live there. Shouldn't you be? Shouldn't people be screaming, "How dare you be so racist that you're determining where people live by whether or not they're Jewish?" My daughter, she was in Shvut Rachel, and the Arabs, which is near Shiloh, she's learning there, and the Arabs burned the fields. Why? Because how dare the Jews come there and live? The whole thing about Sheikh Jarrah. How dare Jews want to live in a Palestinian neighborhood? Over and over, we're seeing that the Palestinians represent a power of ethnic cleansing, Judenrein, making sure that Jews cannot live where they want in the land of Israel, which is precisely what we saw before the Holocaust, saying where Jews can and cannot live based entirely on our Jewish identity.
And then going along with the theme we were just saying, that the fake news that is reported as a result of that is not that there is, like you said, ethnic cleansing, but the fact that these Jewish provocateurs are coming out and they're provoking the Arabs by settling inside of their populations, and it's really the whole message, the whole reality is skewed, and I'm sure that in any other civilized country in the world, this would not be tolerated. If you had in America a situation in which we had, we had 60 years ago maybe, but if you had a situation today where a black family decided to move into a predominantly white community and they were attacked for that, I'm sure that the police and the government would immediately try to defend and protect that family for their equal rights to live peacefully in anywhere they would like to.
Josh, I don't think I've ever said this before, and so I really have to say it. I so respect you, because what you've done is you've made the life decision to physically move you and your family to the Mount of Olives in order to make a statement that the Jews are back in Israel, that especially in the holiest site, Jerusalem. If you see that little gold thing on the top of his head, that's a view from his apartment, and that's the pathway through which the Messiah will go up to the Temple Mount. And Josh, you have made that decision. It's by no means an easy decision, is what we see here. And you're doing it for all of Am Yisrael, and I think actually for all of the world. And I really can't thank you enough. I respect you. I'm so happy that you were not hurt in the attack. Hashem must love you an awful lot, I hope.
Thank you very much, Elio. I have to disagree with you there, though. We're not here because just to make a statement. We're here because we feel very privileged to live in such a special place in such a special time, and the fact that God has allowed us to be in this place is something that we feel privileged. We feel that we are very fortunate to be here, and Jews for 2,000 years have prayed and dreamed of being able to see the scene that I see when I wake up in the morning and I look out my window. And like I said, I don't feel like I'm risking myself for it. I think that we have been granted an incredible gift here, and we don't downplay that any day.
Amen. So, Josh, you have to get ready for Shavuot. The holidays coming in. I have to get ready for Shavuot.
One of the 3 times of the year that we are obligated as Jews to come to this place, this place behind us. So all Jews are required to come 3 times a year, and this is one of those 3 holidays that we look for. We feel very privileged to be so close.
Just as an aside, now that you mentioned that, I just found out that today it was supposed to be the first day that Jews were allowed to ascend to the Temple Mount, the first day in about 2 weeks, that we were excluded from our holiest site simply because we were Jews and because the Arabs are willing to be horribly violent on what they claim to be a holy site for them. And we are excluded again today on the eve of our holiday, and probably on our holiday as well. Right now, due to this violence, we're not sure when we'll be able to go back to our.
And again, who makes that decision? That is a decision that is made by our policymakers, by the Minister of Internal Security, by the Prime Minister. Those supposedly right-wing members of government are the ones that are preventing Jews from going up to the Temple Mount, and that is unacceptable and needs to change immediately. If nothing else, then it is a prize being given to the terrorists, a victory giving to the terrorists that they have succeeded in doing what they claim they want to do, which is to rid the Temple Mount of Jews and make it Judenreich.
You're right. They're capitulating to violence. Violence is setting the dialogue. And if you do that, there's no end to it. Violence will just keep eating away at you until there's nothing left but bones. Thank God. Okay. Thank you so much, Josh. I really can't thank you enough. And Hashem should bless you for all the amazing things you do for Israel and the world.
He blesses us and he protects us. Thank God.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Be blessed and have an amazing Shavuot.
Thanks so much.